Hi, how's everyone out there doing? This is Amy Hamilton, author of The Consummate Communicator, Character Traits of True Professionals, and The Project Manager, Life is a Project. And I am here today on Inauguration Day, and we are doing 24 authors in 12 hours. This is an international virtual book festival, and I am super excited to be announcing Haseena Patel, and she comes to us from Africa. Just a little bit about Haseena before she gets her chance to talk. She is a mind, body, spirit breakthrough coach, chief trailblazer of yoga, soul sage. She's an author. She's an international keynote speaker. She works with heart-centered individuals worldwide. Um, she has been featured in South African and international press, was interviewed at South African Magazine TV show, and NRU The Light. I am super excited to have her on board today to be talking about No Girl Behind, how to help girls become the change in our world. Haseena, thank you again for being on the show. And what time is it there for you?
Oh, it's 3 p.m. in South Africa. And thank you for having me, Amy. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's super great to have you here. And one of the first things I love to ask all the different authors is what inspired you to write your book?
Now that's an interesting story because what happened was my sister and I used to mentor girls. It was so important to me because I know how it feels to be a girl growing up where certain cultures and communities I was exposed to, you grow up feeling that you're less than a boy is. So when I started mentoring girls, I started like, I don't want any girl to have to feel that. I want her to know her value. I need her to know her self-worth. So my sister and I started mentoring girls, and then why not write a book, leave behind how to help girls become the change in our world. But the subtitle was, we were just meaning that it's 1,000 women with words of advice. So we were just going to find 1,000 women who were successful. Then I called into Hey House Radio and spoke to Dr. Dyer, who really one of my greatest teachers, and he was talking about how to make a shift on the planet. And it turned into a conversation about girls' empowerment and how to shift on the planet. And I said, well, what advice do you give to your daughters? And it was so good. And I said, we use that in our book. And he said, yes, it won't cost you a penny. I'm saying it's on national radio. So we went back and it totally changed trajectory. Instead of 1,000 words of advice, that's where the subtitle, to help girls become a change in our world, that's where that subtitle came from.
Now, that's a wonderful story, and I think such an important topic. And like you said, a global topic. This is something that isn't limited there to South Africa. It's something that really goes on globally. And for my audience today, those of you who've watched the show before, I have generally strayed away and said, I'm not, I really wanted to do in today's episode is have topics discussed that have real value, but do it in a way that we can do it with respectful dialogue. And so that's one of the great things about having Haseena here today is to talk about something that she's passionate about, that might be something that other people are uncomfortable with. But how can you have this dialogue with somebody in a way that's respectful? So have you come across any situations like that where somebody feels strongly opposed to the views that you're expressing in your book and in your work, Haseena?
I have, yes, I know of people who are opposed. Generally, those aren't the people that I'm hanging out with. But there has dialogue because there are some who don't realize the importance. I have been asked before, why are girls so important? Why do you empower girls and not boys? And my reply to that, think about it. Has a boy ever been, or has anyone ever been told grow like a boy and it's supposed to be an adult? Whereas how many boys have been told by perhaps still coaches, perhaps not even gender specific. People just say, oh, you cry like a girl, you throw like a girl. What does it mean? And we actually get to question that. We see that what must little girls hear? And they explain to them that, look, for the same job, we mostly around the world, we have a pay gap, that what are girls here, what are young women, 18-year-old, 21-year-olds going into the job market, what are they actually hearing when you paid this much, but your counterpart is paid more? How much does that eat at self-worth, and what does that make them feel? And that's why we need girls empowerment. I'm not saying that boys need something. I'm saying that I grew up a girl and I know girls need, and I'd like to get to them because of reason.
No, I appreciate your sharing that, and the perspective that just because one person is being empowered, it doesn't make anything less of another group of people. And I think that's a powerful message that you just stated. You and I were recently part of a forum of blogging, 10 blogs over the course of several weeks, 10 weeks. And I was going to ask, could you share a little bit of your experience on how did it make you view your book to have to do that blogging experience and break it down into sort of like little micro nuggets of information? And what micro nuggets of information about your book would you like to share with our audience today?
Very interesting question. Thank you, Amy. So, when you write a book, through the years after that, it has valuable information, but because you're growing as a person, there's so much more you learning and incorporating in who you are, and that you want to teach other, the people, your kids, those who need it, in our schools and all the stakeholders in girls' lives. So what happened as I wrote these blogs, I was writing them on our principles in our nonprofit organization, Leave No Girl Behind National, which, by the way, stemmed from the book. So I was writing on love, strength, courage, freedom, equality, and unity, which are our 6 principles. And I looked at putting these principles in today's context. Whereas our book was written a few years ago, and I guess we have evolved pretty quickly in the last year or two, never the rest of the time. And there are different things that girls come across, situations that they're in, different things they need. So I think that's the major thing that struck me. Yes. And then the second part of the question about, it was about my book. What about? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, what did you
Okay.
learn, and sharing about your book and those kind of little nuggets that you were able to pull out?
Well, I think that I discovered that making a change on the planet, girls' empowerment, it's not just a bigger picture, a planet. It's about, well, what can I do in my community? How could I convey to girls and their parents and teachers and coaches that how can we narrow this down to their lives, like their everyday lives, and say, what can we do? How can we teach on love or courage? Well, you have the strength when you're standing up and say that bullying is not okay. That I friend this person even though no one else is friends with them, because I have so much self-worth that I believe that my statement is of value and I care about this person feeling included. So, that's something that could really narrow it down to a specific situation, and we can use it like practical tips. What can you do in real life situations? How can you have courage? Maybe have courage to step up and just be with your fear, and that is courage. So how and in this day and age, teaching about, say, equality, teaching about unity, and there are so many examples in our world today. There isn't inclusion. And people are having to step up and say that we're not going to stand for this. And that's the example that we need to set for girls so that they go to school tomorrow and they come across a situation they don't stand for. They're able to use their voices and embrace those voices and give that message loud and clear.
Yeah, it's such a powerful message, and it goes back into that's a universal for boys, for girls, for people to,
Yeah.
be able to say, "Hey, this is wrong," and I have the voice, I have the courage to stand up and just not go with the crowd and not feel that peer pressure. And so important, so much of what you're hitting on is teaching children. And often for children, it seems that we want to insulate them and protect them, but children are bullied in school. Children are afraid to speak out, and you're really empowering them with that voice.
Oh, thank you. I think that it's so important that they know their own power because they have it. Maybe someone didn't say to them that your voice or just inspire them with that confidence. And when they find it, they're able to go so far in life. They're able to do whatever they need to, and to do it by being true to themselves.
Yeah, being true to yourself, a great message. One of the things is I did put your website across the bottom for somebody who wants to reach out. It's HaseenaPatel.com. For those of you who are looking at this in the future, I just want to make sure you're aware. This is a great way that you can reach out, and that you can find out how you can get more involved with empowering women. One of the things that I wanted to mention today is in both my books, The Consummate Communicator, Character Traits of True Professionals, as well as The Project Manager, Life is a Project, is available free for Kindle download all day long. So please feel free to reach out to that. And the other thing I wanted to do is put how you can order Haseena's book from Amazon into our chat window. And I'm going to do that right now while we're talking. And so you'll see in the comments section, anybody in the future, that if you would like to get a copy of her book, this is where you can reach it at. And Haseena, do you have any promotionals or specials that you would like to talk about today?
Yes, the thing I would like to talk about is that, as you said, I'm a mind, body, spirit coach too, and I think that's so important for empowerment, whether it's girls, women, or anyone of any gender. Because when you feel connected to who you are, you're able to step out in from your power. So I have a free mind body reset guide, which is available from my website, haseenapatel.com, which Amy's just put it in there. And you can actually just, it's on the page, you could just fill out your email, get a download that, and you'll be able to know how to set intentions for for your week, even for a year, and be able to just reset yourself and feel more connected so you can step out into your own power.
Thank you so much for that. And you've talked a lot about mind body health connection. I think that's super important. I'm a big fan of that. And I wanted to let our audience know kind of how did this virtual book festival get started. And what happened was, as an author, I was supposed to do my book launch back in May. And I delayed it a few times because of coronavirus. And finally, in August timeframe, I did the launch, and it led about to this series, 24 authors in 12 hours. And this is an authors helping authors event. And kind of the way I viewed it was very like, okay, before I was going to be on these big stages. Haseena is a professional speaker. We used to go and talk to thousands of people. And now we talk to you from our living rooms or our studies or whatever room in the house you happen to be in. But what's really awesome about this experience is before it would have been very costly and very expensive to have her fly out here to the United States. And we're able to do this right here in our living rooms. So instead, I try to view it now as like the opportunity to have a global international experience and really just kind of open up those ties. Right now, during this time of COVID, Haseena, what is your advice for people who are at home and who maybe are not feeling that mind body connection? What's some simple steps that they could take?
I love that you asked that, because a lot of people feel almost trapped, or like the prison bars around them. And it's very tempting to feel like that. What I felt was I could actually go within, was while we make busy lives, and I'm a mother, but I know there are plenty of parents, and when there was lockdown in different places, no school, right? Their children are there. I'd say create a little space for yourself, whether it's a room in the house, even if your home is too small, just a little space. And you know your routine. Get 5 minutes, when it is. Put things in your space that really make you good. For instance, I'm into crystals. Not everybody is, but just have your little space, create it physically. Have a journal and a pen. If you're not into writing, maybe you're into drawing, maybe you're into video blogging, any way that you'd like to express yourself, and just be still. And if you find that your home is not the place to be still, go park in your car somewhere, in front of a park, whatever it is, and just be still and see what comes to you. See, really, your feelings are a great indicator. So being able to just get into your feelings and say, well, how am I feeling? And once you've done that, it's like, how can you move to just a degree of a space with that feeling? It is something that I can be in gratitude for right now. Maybe it's heartbeat, maybe it's my breathing, whatever it is. And just breathe, because one's breath really takes one out of that feeling of stress, being anxious. Breathing deeply from the abdomen, and just be able to relax those muscles, relax your neck and shoulders, and just going from there. And if you start doing that with 5 minutes a day, you can then take 10 minutes maybe after that, and it will become a routine where the part of your day feels less stressed. And if you can approach the default where you're more relaxed or more inspired, stressed, and worried, then hey, we're winning.
Now, such great points, and it's very interesting to me because when you discuss this kind of like stillness, the ability to just put things aside. Before we were rushing around place to place, commuting, and now people have more time who are teleworking and working at home. But I think that that's true, that people aren't taking necessarily that time for that self care, that self reflection. I think another good thing, and I love your advice on this, is um, maybe it's not completely still, but maybe it's these kind of activities that get you back to nature. You mentioned the park. What about going for walks and things like that?
That is so brilliant. I realized in my own life, I love being out in nature, and I actually go bird ringing with a friend of mine who is a licensed bird ringer. So I spoke to her yesterday and saying, I can't believe I haven't been out in nature for so long. And you actually just get in tune with yourself to know what your body needs, what your mind needs, what your spirit needs. So you're actually, just listening to yourself, and you'll know that I need a walk. You'll know that you likes being in the fresh air. I mean, personally, I think that if you're in a place where you can walk and there are parks and there are beautiful surroundings, that's awesome. And if you're living in a country where maybe you step out the door and you don't feel that peace, or you're not passing the same kind of what describe as beauty, find a way. You can find a real home, go within, or just drive yourself somewhere. So there are plenty of other things, but whether I think yoga, for me, I'm a yoga instructor as well, but yoga is a great outlet. And people find that as well. whether you do it in your home or you do poses and breathing outside the home, in a park or anywhere. I think just being in tune with what you need and then acting on it, even if it's for 5 minutes, just investing in yourself.
You bring up a great point, and I want to kind of tie this back to your book a minute here. You just talk about investing in yourself, and I think women, especially, we forget to invest in ourselves because we're busy, and there's kids, and there's parents, and there's all these people that you're giving to, and sometimes you don't remember that the first person you have to take care of is you. It's kind of like that analogy on the plane that you have to put your mask on, and then you should help those around you. And we have to invest in ourselves then in order to invest in those children and to invest in those girls. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's actually an amazing point, and we can't say it enough. Because even when we do start investing in ourselves, a lot of women feel guilty, especially at first. They feel like someone needs me, but I'm giving to myself, and they don't that moment see it as giving to themselves or investing. They see it as I'm doing something else than what I should be doing. So what we do is, my sister and I work with women. We have this unbreakable tribe, and it's a group where we provide a safe space for women. We help them to build relationships with themselves, with others, and of course, time, money, and health, because everything in life is a relationship. And it all starts building a relationship in yourself, like you say, investing in yourself. So we have personal growth and development, have masterminding and discussion, and also support and the accountability, which helps women invest in themselves. And of course, when they step out of that, and a woman just described the week, I feel so light and I'm so supported and just like-minded women, she should actually step out of that and goes to her 3-year-old. I mean, that just makes you a person interacting with your 3 years, with your children, with your partner, and with your colleagues. It just helps give from a place of I'm full instead of I'm empty, because you can't give what you don't have.
Such a profound statement you just ended there with, is you can't give what you don't have. And so, taking care of ourselves first and not feeling guilty over it, and then taking care of those around us, and, making sure we're always giving back. We are flying by in time. It's amazing to me how quickly these interviews go. But is there anything that I have not asked you about that you wanted to share with the audience today?
Well, I actually to and touched on this, women investing in themselves. So as you mentioned, my latest book is on the way to being published. It's called The Walker's Journey: The Unbecoming of Who You Are Not. And that's where the point comes in, where it's can't live according to others' expectations. They don't define us, and no circumstances define us either. We get to define ourselves, and we don't have to label ourselves. We don't have to define ourselves, but we get to live our lives in the way that feels fine to us. So, that's one of the things I teach in this book that's to be published soon. And I teach it through my unbecoming system, where you get to become who you are not. And you're in the zone where you don't feel, maybe you feel insecure. You are always worthy, but maybe you don't feel that. If you're feeling insecure, when you're feeling fear, into fear, when you're feeling in a state of, I perceive myself as a failure, you're never a failure. There's no experience in life which makes you a failure. You learn so much. So when you are in that kind of state of mind, just to move to the next highest level, are so many techniques you can use. I mentioned the gratitude list, where you can just find things grateful for, not what you're supposed to be grateful for, but just something that you feel, your breath, your heartbeat. I'm grateful for the hug from my pet or from my child, or I'm grateful for um, clean air, nature, anything like that. And you keep going until you get to that better feeling place. And that's a part of investing in yourself, and especially it's for anyone, but especially for women, because once we invest in ourselves, we can pursue our purpose and just do whatever we feel aligned to do. And there is no expectation, there is nothing that defines you, and you don't your truth does not need any validation from anyone at any time for any reason. So that's my message.
No, such a great message. And March is International Women's History Month, and I would love to have you back on the show in March talking about your new book.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy. It would be such an honor to be back.
That's good because had you said live, no, not really, that would have been very awkward. So I am super, super glad to have you. It's been such a wonderful experience, and I can't believe that our show is wrapping up already. We do have a comment, people saying thank you for sharing and good talk. Such an important message about empowerment for girls and your next book, Empowerment for Women. Thank you, and I really just appreciate your time.
Thank you, Amy. It's really been a privilege, and it's just been so enjoyable. So thank you for having me on.
Of course.